What if you had the power to swap bodies with a kiss? Which of course leads to all kinds of harem shenanigans. And for your life to return to normal, you'll need to find the 7 witches of your school, each with their own unique powers that are also activated by a kiss. Well, that's exactly what happens to Yamada, a high school delinquent who's always late for class, has abysmal grades, and is always getting into fights. Students generally fear and avoid him at any cost, much like my school's cafeteria food. Yamada is being scolded by a teacher when he meets the beautiful Shiraishi, an honor student at the top of her class and the complete opposite of Yamada. On his way out of the teacher's lounge, he passes by Shiraishi going up the stairs and accidentally trips and falls onto her. He wakes up moments later in the school infirmary, only to find out that he is now in Shiraishi's body. He checks to see if his manhood is still there and screams in terror when he finds out it's missing. Moments later, he finds Shiraishi diligently studying in class while in Yamada's body, which of course freaks out their classmates. He drags her out of class and questions her about how they ended up switching bodies in the first place. Shiraishi theorizes that it happened due to them falling down the stairs, but they decide to wait until after school to try and switch back. As a man of culture, Yamada explores Shiraishi's body, ultimately ending in a nosebleed when he peeks a little too close to heaven. While spending the day as Shiraishi, he learns that the life of an honor student is not all that glamorous and easy. It turns out that she's bullied and ridiculed by girls in her class. However, he does eventually save her from one of her bullies. After school, they throw themselves down the stairs as an attempt to switch back, but it fails. Shiraishi realizes that they had also kissed when they fell down the first time, and that perhaps kissing again will turn them back to normal. Yamada is embarrassed by this idea, but she still kisses him, and they successfully switch back. Meanwhile, Miyamura, the student council vice president, actually witnessed this event. The next day, the two swap bodies again, and Miyamura tricks Shiraishi and Yamada into revealing their true identities. Miyamura says that he's reopening the Supernatural Studies Club and he wants both of them to join. He also theorizes that perhaps it's possible for them to switch bodies with other people, and not just each other. Against heavy protest from Yamada, they put this theory to the test. It works, and the two boys switch bodies. Shiraishi then asks Yamada if there's a strange thing between Miyamura's legs too, to which he replies that of course there is. Every guy has something between their legs. The boys switch back, and a few moments later, Ito enters the clubroom. She is a fan of all things supernatural and unexplained, such as ghosts and aliens and my father's location, so she decides to join their club. When Ito catches Shiraishi and Yamada kissing, she believes that the club was just a lie and feels betrayed. She tries to spread rumors throughout the school about Yamada and Shiraishi, but obviously no one believes the word of a weird girl who spends money on fake supernatural memorabilia. Eventually, Ito learns the truth about the club's purpose and Yamada's powers when Yamada kisses her and they switch bodies. They eventually return to the clubroom and switch back, and the four of them agree to use the club as a way to document and test Yamada's body switching powers, as well as any other supernatural oddities that may occur. The next day, Miyamura and Yamada swap bodies with the girls and ask Yamazaki, the student council president, for a budget for the Supernatural Studies Club, but the president is fully aware that they switched bodies and denies their request. However, he says that if they can convince Shiraishi to attend college, he would consider giving their club a budget. Later that day at Shiraishi's home, Yamada confronts her about her lack of college ambitions. She says that it doesn't matter whether she's at home or at college, because she's always alone anyways. He says that thanks to her, he's been having more fun at school and tells her that he's going to try to get into college, and that she should go with him. She smiles at him and agrees. Some time passes, and they all go on a school field trip. Yamada switches bodies with Shiraishi so that she doesn't have to socialize with the girls in her class. He spends all day hanging out with the other girls and even ends up gossiping with them in their room, while Shiraishi continues to study. They eventually switch back to their original bodies by sharing a pretty romantic kiss. Later that night, Nene, the other student council vice president, threatens Yamada with a picture of him going through Shiraishi's bag and looking at her panties. This was of course Shiraishi in Yamada's body, but he has no way of explaining that. Nene tells him that if he can prevent Shiraishi from taking a test tomorrow, she won't share the incriminating pictures. Later that night, Yamada arranges to meet again with Nene, and very bluntly asks her for a kiss. He plans to switch bodies with her so that he can delete the pictures from her phone himself. She's initially taken aback by this, but quickly changes her mind and agrees, and warns him not to blame her for what might happen next. When the switch fails, Yamada fears that he has lost his powers, so Miyamura decides to test Yamada's powers himself by stealing a potato-flavored kiss from him. But neither of them switch bodies. Ito tries as well, still to no effect. It seems Yamada's powers have completely disappeared. The next day at school, Shiraishi doesn't take the exam. When he returns to the club room, Yamada finds that Ito and Miyamura have both made him a bento box. They bicker over which bento box Yamada will end up eating, and confess that they have both fallen in love with him. Annoyed by them acting overly lovey-dovey with him, Yamada kisses them in an optimistic attempt to break them free of the love charm. They revert back to normal and both of them immediately feel the despair and sadness of lost love. Yamada then learns that he has the ability to duplicate a witch's power, and that he copied the power to charm from Nene, which means Shiraishi is actually the one with the power to swap bodies. Surprisingly, Nene herself has fallen in love with Yamada due to her own power. Nene is also always seen with Ushio, who is like her loyal lapdog. Yamada explains that Ushio and him were friends in middle school, but stopped hanging out in high school after Yamada was suspended for a week. Ushio has the incriminating pictures deleted and begs Yamada to use Nene's power against her to return her to normal because he is in love with Nene. He knows that he only loves her because she used her power on him, but says it feels amazing to be under her spell. Nene herself doesn't want to lose the feeling of loving Yamada, but he kisses her despite her protests. Ushio and Yamada reconcile, and the group receives an old notebook in which 7 witches are listed, along with their various abilities, but they're missing a second notebook. The club decides that they will try to find and identify all the 5 remaining witches. During summer vacation, Yamada has to attend cram school, while the rest of the club members enjoy some fun at the beach. But he's not miserable for too long, since he eventually swaps bodies with Shiraishi so she can pass the class for him. However, Meiko, a cram school classmate of Yamada, kisses Shiraishi at the end of class. They don't switch bodies, which leads the group to believe Meiko is also a witch, which would definitely explain the green hair. Yamada eventually kisses her and learns that her power is telepathy, and he also learns that despite her shy appearance, she's a bit of a dommy mommy. The next day, they use her telepathy to exchange answers and pass the class, and with that goal achieved, they gain access to the old Supernatural Studies Club room, where the second notebook is rumored to be hidden. But the room is entirely empty. They don't let this unfortunate news ruin the rest of their summer vacation though. Instead, they spend their remaining time making memories that'll last them forever. Meiko then tells the group about the 4th witch, Maria, who has been absent from school for a while now. At her home, Maria confesses to Yamada that she has the power to see the near future, and that she had a vision of the old school building burning down to the ground. She thought that by staying home, she could alter the future, but it seems that that didn't work. In order to copy her powers and see the future for himself, they share a passionate kiss of the French variety. The group learns that Maria's power only allows her to see the future of the person she kisses, which leads Maria to reveal that the last person she kissed was Kentaro. After meeting him, Yamada is not convinced that this guy is involved in the fire until he brings Yamada to the old school building, where Kentaro confesses that he loves to fry up tempura when he feels depressed. Our soon-to-be arsonist develops a crush on Shiraishi, but she rejects him, and although he failed to kindle her heart, his next sights are set on the old school building. But in the end, Yamada manages to swap bodies with him at the last second and save the day. Kentaro is amazed by the witch's powers and decides to join the Supernatural Studies Club. For their next mission, the club is asked to stop a group of students that have been wreaking havoc ever since they started associating with Noa, the 5th witch. When Yamada reveals to Noa that he knows all about her and the other witches, she has her goons break into their clubroom and steal the first notebook. A pissed-off Yamada confronts the student council president and asks him to come clean about everything. Yamazaki reveals that Noa is actually trying to learn the identity of all the witches so that she can eradicate them. The club members capture the 3 goons and use them as leverage to get Noa to stop hunting for witches. She says that those 3 are her precious friends, and makes it clear that she cares much more about them than anything that has to do with witches. She goes on to say that her friends aren't the ones that have been wreaking havoc around school, and that they're being framed for everything. She kisses Yamada to show him her power so that he can finally understand her motivations for wanting to identify all the witches. It turns out that she has the power to see someone's past trauma in the form of a dream, or perhaps more, a nightmare. That night, Yamada sees her trauma. He sees how she was locked in a storage room for hours until a teacher came to her rescue, but by that time, she had already peed herself. Yamada now understands the bond that Noa shares with her friends, because she's seen all their traumas. He promises to try and clear her and her friends' names. After this, Noa clings to Yamada as she confesses that she's fallen in love with him. That same day, Maria asks Yamada to help her find a way to erase her powers, because she wants to fall in love someday, and she can't do that if she sees the future every time she kisses someone. In order to grant her wish, Yamada meets Tamaki, who is another contender for the school council presidency and who is a witch killer just like Yamada. While Yamada has the ability to copy powers, Tamaki has the ability to steal them. He currently possesses the power of Mikoto, the president's secretary, and the 6th witch. She had the power to make herself invisible to anyone she kissed, which Tamaki stole from her at her request. He says that he will help steal Maria's powers if Yamada can get the president to reveal who is next in line for the presidency. However, Yamazaki says that all three contenders, Miyamura, Nene, and Tamaki, are tied and that he doesn't know which one he'll choose yet. But he decides that he will award the presidency to whoever can find the seventh witch, the last remaining one. At the end of the cultural festival, Yamada realizes that he is in love with Shiraishi. Sometime later, Miyamura tells the group that he has a sister named Leona, who stopped going to school because of an incident with the seventh witch. They decide to go pay her a visit, but when she refuses to help them, a desperate Yamada switches bodies with her and threatens to strip in front of everyone, much to Miyamura's displeasure. However, Leona says that two can play at that game and takes off Shiraishi's panties. Yamada is embarrassed, but he refuses to yield. They eventually switch back and she warns him that the seventh witch isn't like the others, and that once he knows her identity, his memories of the witches and his club will be erased. He's fine with that, and the club promises to come and find him again after his memory is erased. Rika is the seventh witch, and she doesn't wear any underwear in public, which makes her a pretty good candidate for best girl. But after meeting her, Yamada realizes that she didn't erase his memories. She actually erased him from everyone else's memories. None of his friends remember who he is. Tamaki also learned the identity of the last witch and has himself erased from everyone's memories too. He's the only one that remembers Yamada, and they've only got each other to depend on from now on. Yamazaki admits to Yamada that all the witches had changed for the better after meeting him, but now that they've forgotten who he is, they've reverted to their old ways and have started to run amok and cause chaos all over school. Yamada kisses Nene so that he can steal her charming power, but Shiraishi witnesses this and is heartbroken, even though she doesn't understand why. Yamada tries to explain everything to her about the witches and the powers and the memory loss, but she laughs it off and doesn't believe him. The next day, Yamada is surprised to see that Nene has regained her memories of him after they kissed. This is also news to the student council president and the seventh witch, who didn't know memories could be returned with a kiss. Yamada and Tamaki learn that if all 7 witches are gathered together, any wish can be granted by any person, which is why no one can know the identity of all 7 witches. That night, Yamada calls Nene and warns her that the president will have Rika erase her memories of Yamada again. However, the next morning, Rika and Yamazaki are surprised to learn that the power to erase memories doesn't work twice on the same person. Nene, Tamaki, and Yamada all work as a team to restore the witches' memories, and they plan to gather all 7 witches together and perform a ceremony to wish for everyone's memories back. Yamazaki tries to foil this plan by having Mikoto forcibly swap bodies with Shiraishi, while keeping the real Shiraishi locked inside Mikoto's house, where only student council members can visit her. Desperate, the group confronts Rika and asks her to betray Yamazaki, but she refuses because of the deep bond that she feels with him. Due to her power, she is always alone, and the president is the only one that has always been there for her. Yamada convinces her that if they can conduct a successful ceremony, and wish for all the memories to return, Rika won't be alone anymore. The perverted witch agrees to help them, but on one condition. They must bring Leona back to school so Rika can properly erase her memories, something she failed to do the last time they had met, and she wants to rectify that for her own personal pride. When talking to Leona, they learn that the Supernatural Studies Club was originally founded by her and the president, and that they worked together to uncover the mysteries of the witches until they learned the identity of the 7th witch and had to have their memories erased. Yamazaki became the student council president so he could keep the Supernatural Studies Club alive, but this was also erased from his memory. Leona knows that she can't hide from her past any longer and decides to return to school, where she faces the 7th witch, but before the memory loss takes effect, she runs into Yamazaki again. When she walks past him and tells him that she wishes they can meet again someday, tears start falling down his cheeks, even though he has no idea why. The next day, Yamada makes his way to Mikoto's house with the help of Miyamura, who can gain entry into her house because he's a member of the student council. Yamada holds Shiraishi tightly and promises her that he will get her back into her original body, and that he'll never let anything like this happen to her ever again. They're finally able to gather all 7 witches in the same place, but before they can start the ceremony, the group is interrupted by Yamazaki, who is surprisingly not here to ruin the day for once. He says that he never understood why he became president in the first place, and that he just kept working diligently to shelter himself from the pain that he felt in his heart. But after his encounter with Leona, Yamazaki finally realized that he must have had his memories erased, and that Rika could not erase his feelings. He tells Yamada that he wants him to go through with the ceremony so he can remember why he became president in the first place. Before Yamada makes his wish, he asks Rika if she was happy with her witch power. She says that her powers made her mostly lonely, and she's burdened by the thought that when she graduates, she will need to choose a successor to inherit her power. She doesn't want to curse someone else to such a lonely fate. They finish the ceremony, and Yamada's wish is fulfilled. The next day, Yamada is relieved and on the verge of tears when he finds out that all his friends remember him. He invites everyone to the clubroom so he can reveal what he had wished for. Even Yamazaki, Leona, and Rika show up. It turns out that Yamada didn't wish for all their memories to return. In reality, he wished for the witch's power to vanish forever. All the witches are happy with this decision, and they express how lonely the powers made them feel, and how now they realize that they don't need powers to make friends or have a meaningful high school life. With everything resolved and returned to normal, Yamada can finally enjoy some alone time with Shiraishi. He confesses his love to her, and she reciprocates his feelings. She tells Yamada to kiss her, just to make sure that the witch's powers are truly gone. It's the first time that they kiss for love and not for the use of their powers, so they're a bit embarrassed by it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell for more anime recaps. This has been Recap Sensei, and I hope to see you all again in the next video.